coming. This meeting will be streamed live on Rio Blanco County's YouTube channel. And I'd like to call the meeting to order at 2:06. And if we could all stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. All right. So I would we're going to move to item number 3, which is public comment period. Any member of the public may address the board on matters which are within the jurisdiction of the board. If you are addressing the board regarding a matter listed on the agenda, your your time limit is 3 minutes per person or 5 minutes per group. Public comment time is not for questions and answers. It is your time to express your views. So I would like to start with those that are in the room, and then if we have people online that would like to make comments, and then we have several letters that need to be read into the record. And Vicki, if you will read those for us after in that order. Okay. So with that being said, whoever would like to start with the public comment, we're going to ask you to state your name and who you represent and give you 3 minutes. Who would like to start? Now, with this many people in the room, I'm assuming some of you are willing to provide comment. You guys are so fun. All righty. All righty. Do we have anyone online who would like to provide public comment? I don't even have to start my timer. All righty. Could we ask who Rose, it was you that was on the phone. And then Vicki,
yeah.
That's you, the other Rio Blanco County. Okay, so now we know who we got where. All righty. Well, thank you. So Vicki, would you mind reading the letters that they've asked to be read into the record?
Sure. So the ones that I've received, the first one is from Ben Brown, and his comment is, I'm writing to provide my comments regarding the proposed adoption of the Colorado WUI Code. I live in a house in Meeker that would be in Zone 2 moderate hazard area. With regard to the map itself or designations of the wildlife hazard levels, I have no objections. With regard to the WUI Code itself, I assume this refers to the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, as there is no actual WUI Code. I am generally opposed to adopting it for the following reasons. My largest objection is that the code implements a few very simple, basic notions, but creates a large permitting scheme and associated bureaucracy to implement it. We would be better served by simply changing a few of our local codes to implement the practical elements in chapters 4 and 5, structure hardening and area requirements, and skipping the new permit scheme. The proposed document spans 6 pages addressing actual practical guidelines, starting with structure hardening, sections 403 and 404, and including the site area, sections 501 through 503. There are 6 pages. The document spends 9 pages in chapter 1 explaining the new bureaucracy and an additional 10 pages in appendices A through C explaining the permitting process and associated requirements and penalties. There are 19 pages about permitting and 6 about the actual code actions. 3 times more bureaucracy creation than useful content. As an example, roofing requirements for both 1 and 2 hazard levels include Class A rated roofing materials. This is essentially no or any typical asphalt shingle. I cannot find a supplier from which to purchase Class B or C, so it is not an issue. But I would still need to apply for a permit, pay whatever associated fees are, submit whatever associated documents may be weight for approval, etc., before replacing my roof. It sounds onerous getting permission to be sure I'm not installing a roof product that no one can buy anyways. The remaining parts of section 403 relating to gutters, downspouts, and ventilation openings are again very simple, and it appears that it would be very challenging to find alternatives that do not meet them. Yet if we were to try and replace gutters, we would again have to go through the whole administrative permitting process and its associated headaches, hassles, and fees, again onerous. It appears that most of the residences affected are in the cities of the county, and all would be classified as level 2 moderate. As outlined above, the provisions for moderate hazard areas are simple and challenging to violate, yet homeowners would still be subjected to the permitting processes and associated fees. Rather than adopt an entirely new regulatory system, it would be much easier, simpler, and adaptable to include the provisions into our existing local codes. Thank you so much for your considerations, Charles Brown.
Thank you.
Another one. This one is from Barney LeBlanc. To whom it may concern, as a concerned citizen of Rio Blanco County and local general contractor in Meeker, I would like to express my opposition to the proposed WUI code currently under consideration. While I recognize and respect the importance of fire safety, I believe the proposed measures raise several significant concerns. First, I am troubled by what appears to be the policy driven primarily by fear of potential fire risks rather than practical solutions. There will always be significant risk of fire when a wildfire burns out of control, and no amount of fire resistant or fireproof material will save structures. It is common for governments to use fear tactics to steal freedoms from their citizens, and that is what I believe we are seeing here. Give up more freedom in the name of safety. We recently witnessed the skill and hard work of firefighters keeping structures from burning down in the wildfires last summer. Several of the structures did not even meet the current codes. I believe many codes are pushed and lobbied by companies that want their products to be used, and they are not necessarily better products and often much more costly. Second, the proposed code represents what I view as an overreach of government. I do not believe the government should have the authority to tell you what products you can or cannot use to build your house, or what type of landscaping you can have around your house. We continue to give up many of our rights as American citizens, and I believe this is just another regulation that should not be imposed upon the citizens of Rio Blanco County. If a person desires to build a house, I would hope they would choose safe and durable products, but they may not. And I believe that is their God-given right to make those choices and not be told by the government what products they have to use. As a local contractor, I believe this code and most codes will be more of a financial burden to homeowners, builders, and ultimately the broader community, but will not increase the value of their properties. Mandating specific materials and methods will inevitably drive up the cost of building and renovation. The cost of buildings and houses is already out of hand, and this will only make it increasingly difficult for individuals, families, and businesses to build or improve their properties. At what point do we as local community stand up to the Colorado government and say no? We may give in on this sort of thing in order to continue receiving state funding, but how much are we willing to give up? Because they will keep coming for our rights. I would encourage you as the VOCC to stand firm and not allow more of our rights to be regulated and taken away, causing more financial burdens to our already struggling economy. Respectfully, Bernie Lopez. I received one from the town of Rangeley, and they are not online, so Jonah asked if I could read it.
Excellent.
To the Board of County Commissioners, Rio Blanco County Administrator. The town of Rangeley respectfully submits its formal opposition to adoption of the Colorado Wildland Urban Interface WUI Code. Town Council position. On March 24th, 2026, the Rangeley Town Council voted unanimously to oppose this mandate. This position reflects the council's commitment to balancing wildfire safety with economic development and community feasibility. Town manager recommendation. As town manager, I concur with and reinforce the council's position. We recommend that Rio Blanco County reject this mandate and instead pursue locally tailored solutions that account for our unique economic and development context. Specific concerns. Unfunded state mandate. The WUI code is imposed by the state of Colorado with no identified state funding, implementation support, or technical assistance. Local jurisdictions absorb all compliance, enforcement, and administrative costs. Lack of enforcement consequences. The proposed code includes no stated penalty for non-adoption, undermining the urgency and necessity of the mandate. If adoption is truly critical to public safety, the state should attach concrete consequences. If not, it signals the mandate is discretionary. Excessive complexity and cost. The WUI code adds layers of building requirements, defensible space standards, access restrictions, and site design mandates that substantially increase construction complexity and expense, costs borne entirely by developers and homeowners. Chilling effect on development. Rio Blanco County and Rangeley already face significant builder interest challenges. Adding arduous prescriptive building codes will further discourage residential and commercial development. These barriers will harm economic growth and property tax revenue. Unresolved controversy. The proposed code remains contentious within the building and development community with legitimate questions about the cost-benefit analysis, enforceability, and regional appropriateness of unresolved at the state level. Burden on future builders. Adoption will create a multi-layered compliance burden that will discourage investment in Rangeley and the county for years to come, while offering no guarantee of reduced wildfire risk. Rangeley's position. Rangeley strongly opposes adoption of this mandate. We urge the Board of County Commissioners to reject the WUI code in its current form. We welcome dialogue with Rio Blanco County leadership on alternative approaches that serve public safety without crippling local economic development. Respectfully, Jonah Bollinger, Town of Rangeley Manager. And then I've got another one.
Okay, thank you.
This one is from John Wicks. Rio Blanco County has, for the most part, resisted government overreach on regulations. We longtime residents we have always and will take responsibility for what we do on our own land without more regulations. I feel like how, what, where I build or maintain my existing structures and land is my responsibility. As in Rio Blanco County's decision to lessen the burdensome regulations on our oil and gas industry in this county, I applaud the common sense of our people. Respectfully, John Wicks. And the last one is from San Delana Rabel. Dear Board of County Commissioners of Rio Blanco County, I have been a resident of Rio Blanco County for over 42 years. A history being employed in Meeker, employed currently, a former small business owner, and raised my 5 children here. I purchased my home on 11th Street in 2019 after a rent-to-own arrangement and also own several undeveloped parcels. Ooh, these are there. Hang on one second. One within the town of Meeker and 2 about 18 acres in the county, which I plan to develop in phases. I've had initial planning conversations with the town of Meeker, the county planning department, and the Meeker Sanitation District to ensure responsible development. After reviewing the wildfire resiliency code map, I have concerns about how my properties were evaluated. The map is difficult to interpret, showing varying risk levels, and I'm unclear how the Wildland Urban Interface Code 2022 CO-WRA layer applies to subdivision and development. I would like more information on how the data was gathered and assessed. I'm also concerned that the public comment period is too short for property owners to fully understand these implications or meet with officials. 5 days notice comments before a March 31st meeting scheduled during business hours is inadequate. The comment period should at least be 30 days and follow a formal presentation explaining local impacts. Additionally, no meeting has been scheduled for Rangeley residents, which limits participation. Rio Blanco County already has capable building division. Adopting the WUI code may be unnecessarily increased building costs, insurance rates, rising taxes, jeopardizing housing feasibility and investment, especially in today's economic climate. Residents should continue to work directly with the building division and state imposed burdens. Meeker and Rangeley are well served by local fire districts. This policy risks harming private property investment without clear local benefit. I strongly urge the Board of County Commissioners to extend the comment period, provide more detailed public information, and reconsider adopting additional state level codes that could burden development in our county. A benefit for residents living in Rio Blanco County is elected officials historically and consistently standing against excessive government overreach, making every effort to protect the community and the private property owners. Adopting the WUI code appears as unnecessary stipulations on private land owners. Respectfully, San Delana Revolts. And that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate those. And I really appreciate the people that have taken the time and written the letters for us to review, as well as those of you who have come, I guess, to listen. I thought it might be to tell us your thoughts. So I greatly appreciate that. We will move on to our agenda item number 4, And I would welcome a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the agenda as it is. It has one line item to discuss this wild urban interface code, as we call it. So no other discussion is for the agenda. Would you call the roll, please?
Scritchfield.
Aye.
Overton.
Aye.
O'Hare.
Aye.
All righty. So moving on to business number 1, I would entertain a motion for that line item.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a letter to the Colorado Division of Fire Protection and Control requesting an extension of the deadline to adopt the Wildland Urban Interface Code and clarification of certain terms.
I'm going to second that for the purpose of discussion.
Very good. All righty. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. So I would open that for discussion. Yeah, maybe. Would you like for me to read the letter, you guys? Okay, I'll do that since you got to read the lessons. All righty. So, and then we can talk more about why we're doing this. So on behalf of the Rio Blanco County Board of County Commissioners, we respectfully request an extension until October 31st of 2026 related to the county's consideration of the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, or Wildland Urban Interface, herein referenced as the WUI Code. Rio Blanco County understands the importance of wildfire mitigation and the role that land use and building practices play in reducing risk to life, property, and infrastructure. This is not theoretical for our community. The Elk and Lee fires reinforce both the vulnerability of our landscape and the importance of being prepared and coordinated in our response. At the same time, Rio Blanco County places a strong emphasis on individual responsibilities and the protection of private property rights. It is important to the board that any potential WUI approach be carefully evaluated and tailored to our local conditions so that it is both effective and appropriately balanced for our community. The board wants to make a thoughtful, well-informed decision and ensure that any path forward is something we can realistically implement. At this time, we are facing several constraints that warrant additional time. Those include limited staffing to administer and enforce the WUI Code, particularly given the technical nature of plan review, inspections, and compliance. Secondly, resource limitations, both financial and operational, across a large and rural county. And third, concerns with current WUI mapping, including accuracy and extent. The county intends to request a review of the mapping and evaluate whether adjustments are appropriate based on local conditions. Additionally, additional time through October 31st is what I would like to put there, will allow us to complete that mapping review, evaluate our capacity, and engage stakeholders so that any decision made is practical and workable for our county. Additionally, the county requests written clarification as to whether adoption of the WUI Code would trigger, directly or indirectly, the adoption of updated building or energy codes. This information is important to the board's evaluation of potential impacts and implementation considerations. For clarity, this request for extension is part of our due diligence and evaluation process and should not be interpreted as a commitment to adopt the WUI Code. Rio Blanco County remains committed to working with the Division of Fire Prevention and Control as we move through this process. We appreciate your consideration and any guidance your office can provide. Please feel free to reach out if you need any clarification. or any additional information, I should say. So with that, discussion.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I'm a personal property rights advocate. And I think this is imposing on personal property rights. There is a bill, just for information, there is a bill in the works right now to withstand this. But it depends on we've got different opinions on whether it's gonna make it or whether it isn't. More than likely, it won't make it. We constantly oppose these kind of bills. We work real hard to oppose them, but we can't get anybody to help us. We can't, they just run over us. We opposed this pretty hard, but they passed it and here we are. I think it should be between the property owner and the insurance company and less government. It is an unfunded mandate that we've been fighting all year with not just this one, but everything they send to us. And it isn't just this year, it's they push more and more at us all the time, and it's unfunded, and they just expect us to suck it up. If by chance we are required to update our building codes, and Matt can back me up or tell me I'm wrong on this, but if they tell us that we have to come forward with all of our building and energy codes, that is going to cost us a lot of money. Not just what this building, this fire code WUI is, but if they make us come forward with all that other stuff, it's gonna cost everybody a lot more money. We're in a tight spot here, and I hope that I hope we get an extension or they go to it. But let me tell you how we get fires paid for here. For instance, the fire that we just had last year here started on private property. One of them did. The other one started on federal property. If we didn't have the relationship with the state and the federal government like we have it now, that would have cost us a lot of money, because they could come back and ask us to pay for portions of that. We're hoping that we got by pretty good this last time because of our relationship with the state and the feds and the way that the system works. If we don't do this WUI code that we're getting a lot of opposition to not do it. But I want to throw a scenario out there in this year, in 5 years, we have a huge fire and the governor's mad at us. Who's going to pay for that? And then you're going to be coming back at the commissioner saying, you guys should have done that. It puts us in a tough spot. I guess that's how I feel in a nutshell.
Thank you. Jennifer?
So I'm not going to repeat everything Doug said because I feel the same way. Just a couple of points from where I stand. Of course, private property rights are important, but also if we do have to update our current codes to the more, our codes are currently, which is 2008, we would have to then bring them up to code. I will tell you that I will be a hard no on that. That it would cost us even more, but that's just where I'm coming from. The other point I want to make is this map, the map that they've put out there. Nobody can tell us who created the map, how the map was created. Was it scientifically proven? It's very, very concerning to me. And in my opinion, we should be able to amend that map before we even consider having the codes. So that's where I'm coming from and why we're asking for this extension, because we need to look into a lot more than just the codes themselves. There's that map that's sitting out there.
Thank you. So I guess that a couple of things, and I'm like Jennifer, no sense in rehashing it all because I think we all feel very much the same and again, really appreciate those letters. Yeah, it is our own private property. And the other thing that just blows my mind with this state legislature and current administration, when they opened up this year, they said the two hot topics were going to be budget and affordable housing. And if this doesn't impact affordable housing, I don't know what does. And so again, it's not just this one, and perhaps this one isn't as detrimental as the first ones. The conversation we had since I first started as a commissioner about the energy codes and the impacts that that would have on building is even more significant. I hate to venture what if we had to update all of those codes, what that would cost a homeowner to build a home. And that does nothing but increase the cost of resale of homes, rentals, and impact affordable housing. So it just blows my mind that this is the conversation, that we continue to go down the road and have these conversations. I will tell you that the fear tactic that they used was insurance. This would help reduce homeowner insurance because of all the impacts of our fires. Unfortunately, I haven't heard of anyone who has talked to an insurance company that indicated that this would really help. Now, the one thing that I have heard is a potential, again, maybe threat, maybe not, is that a year or two down the road, the insurance companies come back and take a look at the counties that have implemented this and the counties that have not. And as we all know, how they draw circles of where they will insure or not, that they could potentially do that in the whole county, not just one side of the river or the other. Because I happen to know of a homeowner that has a house on each side of it's on the same side of the river, but different sides of the road. And they canceled the insurance on one because it was further or closer to the BLM ground. So I think Doug had mentioned it, and I will go back to my many years ago in 2002 during the drought when I was hate to say a lobbyist for the Colorado Association of Conservation Districts. This was a conversation clear back in 2002, drought years, that insurance companies needed to be forcing, go take a look at a home and see what kind of risk it is and evaluate your premiums based on that. That was in 2002. We were having those conversations. And here we are just with the government implementing it instead of the insurance companies. And again, I may be wrong on this one, but in conversation with some of our builders, and I unfortunately didn't get to go to the town that held the meeting with the state, and I was trying to listen into the one that was in Rifle, and I got lost my service at that point too. But my understanding is it's really hard to tell where there's a lot of ifs or maybes or ands, but one of them is obviously, I should say obviously, so one being your roofing, one being your siding, one being your windows. Those are some primary targets that they're asking for, ensuring that they'll hold fire for a certain period of time. But oh, by the way, garage doors, we don't have any of those right now that are built of materials that would hold off of fires at a couple hours back. Is that kind of the goal?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. So those are exempted just for good, just for conversation. Those are now exempted. But wait a minute. Don't you think that very soon somebody's going to come up with a material that for garage doors that will do that? And what's the cost of those going to be? Because that's how capitalism works. We take advantage when the government does something silly like this. I wouldn't blame somebody, but look at what that's going to do to the cost of a home. And the other thing we heard strongly from one of the, I think it's Grand County, who is choosing not to do this. And I believe they have just chosen not to do it. I can't remember if they're doing an extension, but they went through, what is it? They have one of the even bigger than our fire was, that happened to burn a lot of homes. And the thing that stuck in my mind is, this isn't going to stop the fire. I mean, it's not going to stop the damage to the homes. When a fire is burning or melting silver in a safe, there's nothing is going to stop a fire coming through. When they get rolling like this fire did last year, there's nothing going to stop them. So I think, again, this was a bill that was searching for a problem. It found the problem, but it didn't come up with the solution. So with all of that being said, we had really considered and we put this off to the last minute. And Sam, to your point, I appreciate it. Yes, we had a very short period of comment. We really thought there was going to be a bill that extended this. And so we were just kind of leaving it to the last minute. That bill was supposed to have been heard today. Now it's been put off to April 7th. And my understanding is it's a couple of freshman legislators that have it. And so they're trying to do right things for their constituents. But the leadership that brought this last year is not very excited about it. And so it's been put off until after the deadline, and chances of it living are very slim. So that's why we put it off to the very last minute. And then got to thinking and talking to other counties and realized, maybe our best option, instead of having to make a decision right now, is request this extension. So that's our plan, in my opinion. And poor Matt's going to be busy this summer because we're going to have a lot of conversations with the state and we're going to push hard. And we really do want something in writing that they will not require us to bring those other codes into force. And I don't know where I will be if that happens, because that's going to be a really hard one to support. I would just say, with all of that, I really want every homeowner to be doing everything they can to protect their homes right now. Because guys, look at what we're facing out here. And every homeowner needs to be doing whatever they can. There's a lot of stuff out there. By the way, Extension has a document that's living after something. I just got it yesterday, something about living after a fire. And I'm guessing that has something to do with home hardening, as well as I know the Conservation District has a lot of it too. So if anybody has questions, but bottom line is get everything away from your house from quite a ways. Yes, ma'am.
We need to mention about the fire briefing, the community fire brief.
Oh.
And Lynn may be better to.
Okay. Let us finalize this motion. And then I do want to let Lynn make that announcement before we adjourn. So any other thoughts or ideas? Frustrations?
I am just frustrated with this legislation. They just keep pushing stuff at us, and there are people that sit over there that really don't know what we're dealing with. And it's frustrating.
Agreed. Anything else, Jennifer? All righty. Sean, would you mind doing a roll call, please?
O'Haron,
Aye.
Scritchfield,
Aye.
Overton.
Aye.
All righty. Thank you. So yes, Lynn, if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick update on the workshop or commute. There you go. Briefing.
April 23rd, this will be at the 4-H building, over at fairgrounds from 6 to 8 p.m. Just think of it kind of as a one-stop shop for getting ready for whatever we may have coming our way this summer. We're going to have briefings from the sheriff, the BLM, the Forest Service. Luke and his folks, we're hoping, are available to join us there. Everybody's always susceptible to being called away. But we'll have Ronnie there, we'll have checklists, we'll get everybody signed up for reverse 911. Think of it as a before we're burning. Hopefully it will be Murphy's Law, and we'll be good.
Thank you all. Please spread that word, and then we will work to have one shortly thereafter in Rangeley as well. So I think that concludes our special meeting to get this done. We will get that letter off today so that we hit their little deadline. And Thank you all for coming. And I would also just quickly say, please stay tuned. And as we learn more about this and so forth, I'm guessing we'll be having a lot more conversations. So please stay tuned. So thank you.
And
And-
communicate with us. Let us know how you feel.
Oh, yes, please call your legislators and let them know what you think about this. Please do that. So with that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we adjourn this work session at 3:41,
Special session.
special session, 3:41.
2:41.
That one up there says 3:41, but it really is 2:41. Sorry.
2:41, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong clock.
The thing keeps, it changes.
I second it.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. Would you please call the roll?
Overton,
Aye.
Scritchfield.
Aye.
O'Hairn.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.